Giannis launches. Oh!
Well, I'd like to welcome you into a very, very special edition of Open Court here on NBA TV, where we have the opportunity to talk to some of our esteemed colleagues. They're out of the topsiders and they're into the high tops. We're going to get inside the mind of some of the great players that we have here working at Turner and talk about some of the things on the floor that might teach you a few things about how they thought about the game. So without further ado, men that need no introductions but made me do it anyway because Ernie's not here. So we'll start with a man from the University of Indiana, a two-time champion with the Detroit Pistons and Hall of Famer. His middle name is Lord, but he played with the Bad Boys. Isaiah Thomas.
What's up, what's up, what's up?
Zeke.
How are you? I'm good. How you doing? All right.
Two-time NCAA champ with the Duke University Blue Devils, seven-time NBA All-Star, playing until he reached the age of 40. 40?
40.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen,
40.
Grant Hill.
G-Hill.
Hey, hey.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
From Michigan State University. Ask him, he'll tell you. NBA champion, NBA All-Star, Olympic gold medalist, and 14-year pro, Steve Smith.
No more.
From Georgia Tech, 10-year NBA pro and one of the greatest shooters in NBA history, 3D, Dennis Scott. From UCLA, Hall of Famer, five-time NBA All-Star, 18-year pro, all with the Indiana Pacers. One of the greatest trash talkers and obviously one of the greatest shooters of all time, number 31, Reggie Miller. Phone fingers. All right. And last and certainly not least, from LSU, four-time NBA champion, 15-time All-Star, Superman before Dwight Howard, of course. Part-time analyst with TNT, Shaquille O'Neal.
Shaq Fu! Shaq Fu! DJ D's? Barbecue chicken. Barbecue chicken. Shaq Fu!
Watch your Dwight comments.
Before we get into some demos, I did want to ask you guys, because throughout a playing career, you have many teammates, but you also have many coaches, which means many voices. So I wanted to get from each of you one coach that said something that has stuck with you even till today. Maybe something you're even telling your kids. Smitty, let's start with you.
So many coaches, but I'm going to go with Johnny Golston, the first one to tell me this round basketball could take me around the world, could get a chance for me to get an education, to meet people, and travel the world. As you can see, I'm here with all you guys, so the late Johnny Golston was right.
Reggie?
Larry Brown. He preached accountability. Hold yourself. You're the best player on the team, just as accountable as the 12th man.
3D?
For me, it was a guy named Reginald Kitchen. Childhood coach, you know him from back in the day, and he said, do what you do. And I used to like to handle the ball, be like Magic Johnson.
No.
No, he said, no, you shoot. That's the history.
That's definitely the smartest coach. Diesel?
For me, it was Dale Brown. His favorite saying was never give up. When I got to LSU, I didn't have a lot of confidence. He instilled in me a lot of confidence. I played behind Chris Jackson and Stanley Robinson, and I was the second best player coming out of Texas.
And you had no confidence?
Really, none at all. Because, people always used to say, you went to the small high school, you're playing against guys Isaiah's height. When you get to the next level, you're not going to be ready. So Coach Brown always told me never give up. Thanks, Coach.
Grant Hill?
A lot of great coaches like everybody here. For me, high school coach Wendell Bird really applies to basketball, but also off the court. Don't fear failure, fear success, because more people in life are ruined by success.
And Zeke?
Coach Bob Knight said mental is to physical as 4 is to 1, and it's a thinking man's game.
Well, getting into the mind then is what we're going to do here. Basketball 101, we're going to have some great demos. These guys played some very specialized position in the NBA, so we're going to get inside their thought process behind that, and we'll be back after this. So go ahead and warm it up, fellas.
Yeah.
Cut, Shaq, cut.
Go, Shaq. Give him an elbow, Shaq.
I did not throw the ball. This is all I did right there. That's all I did.
So I come off. My job is to get Reggie behind me. Once I feel this defender behind me, and I'm squared up looking at Steve Smith right in the face, okay? Now I know Shaq's open.
All right, we're back to Basketball 101. Again, an esteemed panel here, but I'm going to ask some of you guys to step off because it's time for the only true point guard that we have.
Yeah.
All right,
We're going to talk to Isaiah Thomas. Not the Shaq. I know you always wanted to play point, but we're going to talk to Isaiah. Isaiah, you know, obviously the point guard position, there's this cliche that the extension of the coaching staff begins with the point guard. When is it, as a player, that you established that ideal and grasped onto the fact that you had to be an extension of the staff?
I understood it very early, you know, from playing grade school to high school. I was fortunate enough to play the point guard position my whole entire life. So my job was to always take it off the blackboard and make it come to life on the court. That's the way it was explained to me. You got to understand every position out on the floor, whatever the defensive scheme is, whatever the offensive scheme is. Your job is to make sure that it's implemented out on the floor.
Who is it today that you watch, that you appreciate, that handles those responsibilities?
I think in our game today, no one does it better than LeBron James. Even though he's not necessarily the point guard per se, he dictates what happens out on the floor offensively and also defensively. And then you move down to maybe a Steph Curry. They won the championship. What he was able to do was flawless. And then you have to go to Tony Parker in San Antonio. I think he, Chris Paul, those guys understand what's on the blackboard and how to make it come to life out on the floor. And they do it and they control the tempo of the game. They dictate the offense and also the defense.
I think that's fascinating to bring up LeBron James. I think we all recognize that he does do that from time to time. Go through the high pick and roll and what it is that you thought about as a point guard setting it up.
Well, the first thing you want to think about in high screen and roll is that you want to keep the ball in the center of the floor. And defensively, the first thing they tell you is to knock the ball out of the middle of the floor. So as a point guard, you want to try to get the ball into the center of the floor. Why do you want it in the center of the floor? So you can see all angles on the floor. You can see the right side, you can see the left side. So if you had a screener like Shaq, we have Shaq coming out, big fella. So Reggie's guarding me.
I'm guarding Shaq.
Steve's
Good luck, Smitty.
So the first thing I want to do is make sure that this defender don't know where the screen's coming from. So late clock situation, what you always have, point guard to get it, he'll run out, he'll stop right here, and now this defender is always looking for the screen. Looking for the screen, trying to see which side the screen's coming from. If his defensive player is not speaking to him, then Shaq and I have him at a big disadvantage. So Steve doesn't call the screen. Let's say Steve called it left or right. What you calling, Steve?
Right.
Okay, Shaq sends me left now. So I come off, and now I want to make sure that I occupy Steve. If I can occupy Steve, that means I've drawn two. Once I've drawn two, now Shaq, I put the ball behind the two defenders. Shaq has an open layup, dish out to a three-point shooter or what have you. But
much of your attention, Zeke, is on your primary defender at that point. I know that you're manipulating Reggie in the high screen and roll, but how much are you looking through him to the screener and then beyond Shaq to the level where you've got guys spotted up and shooting? How much is that defender, Reggie in this case, how much does he worry you?
He doesn't worry me at all. My obligation right now is to occupy weak side defense. So what I'm looking at is the four other defenders out on the floor. So as Shaq comes up,
Big right, Reg.
the defender who's guarding me doesn't matter. So now I'm looking at, okay, when I come off, Shaq sets a great screen, and now I'm trying to occupy weak side defense. Because if I can take away weak side defense, so you'll be the weak side defender, Bo.
Sure, I'll be here.
Okay, and you coming up
No,
to
thank you.
take Shaq.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
So my job is to read you now. These two don't matter. Weak side defense picks up Shaq. Now I know I got to skip over. Okay? If you don't take Shaq, then Shaq's got a layup down the lane. Now, that defender can't help off Grant because we got a shooter there. So we call this strong side. So right now, I've occupied 3 defenders. That's what the point guard's supposed to do in pick and roll.
What?
Can you talk about the play that made you and Bill Laimbeer so tough to guard? Because he's the opposite of Shaq. He picked and popped, and we see more of that in the NBA today.
Good point, 3D.
So if you have a shooter,
There we go. He's ready now.
if you have a shooter, what we say to the shooter is now we call this pick and pop, right? So Shaq's not gonna roll. When Shaq pops, he's gonna pop, spread the floor, space out to make this defender have a long recovery. My job, again, is to occupy two. So let's run it again, Shaq, and you're gonna pop out and knock down a three. So I come off, my job is to get Reggie behind me. Once I feel this defender behind me and I'm squared up looking at Steve Smith right in the face, okay? Now I know Shaq's open. And I gotta make sure that this defender, this big defender, I gotta leave Reggie behind me. So I gotta come off quick enough and take up the space. You see, I took up the space, put Reggie behind me. Now I'm looking dead on at you. I got Reggie behind me, so I know Shaq is open. If you leave, then I got layup.
Zeke, one question. How important are your eyes as a point guard to be able to throw me off?
You have to engage the defender with your eyes. So, you know, the most important things that we use in basketball and that we used to use a lot in basketball was voice and eyes. And we would either talk you out of your game or try to engage you. And if I can engage you, make you look at me, then you're not concentrating on everybody else. So we used voice a lot, and then the media started calling voice trash talking. And then you stop talking and you stop using your voice. But good teams, when you watch and you hear them play, they're always talking. Bad teams play in silence. Good teams, they're always talking. They always got chatter.
Isaiah, whether you realize or not, you are part of the media now. So, all right, one more. Let's run pick and pop for Shaq, and then we'll come back after this commercial break and talk
knock
about
it down, big fella. Knock it down.
All right,
Here we go.
Leave
him open. Leave him open.
We'll be back to talk about some of the most versatile players that you've ever seen. Steve Smith and Grant Hill will break down what it's like to play several positions in the NBA.
If he stops me, one of you are open. If he goes back, then, you know, if he goes a little further back, I may.
The young Grant Hill.
Hold
The
up.
young Grant Hill. The young Grant Hill.
Guys, I'm open.
Go, there you go.
Oh, man,
pass I'm giving.
3D, that's the first pass I got. It was from 3D. It wasn't even Isaiah. We talked about the point guard. All right, we're back to basketball.
He didn't know
one-on-one.
No.
Open court style. We talked to Isaiah as the point guard, but now I want to talk a little bit about two of the most versatile guys that I had the opportunity to play against. And we're going to talk to Steve Smith and Grant Hill. So you other guys, go get some Gatorade. We'll get to you, Shaq. We'll get to you. I can't believe I just sent Shaq off the court. All right. You guys were switchblades when you played. I just want to ask the both of you, who is it today that you watch that's able to switch between those positions, do it seamlessly, and affect the game in a positive way?
Well, I think there's a lot of guys. I mean, I think obviously LeBron James comes to mind. He's probably the most versatile, most dominant player in the game today. Can do it on both sides of the ball, can be a point guard, can post up now, can shoot from the perimeter. Really just in terms of versatility and being able to have an effect on the game in a number of different ways, without a doubt, LeBron James.
Yeah, I totally agree with Grant. It's a guy that can play the point on both sides, defend and offensively. Then obviously he moves to the 2 and has a 3. Very good with the basketball, but pretty good like the old days, getting out and filling that lane and running the court without the basketball and making himself a threat without the basketball. I think so many young guys right now at all positions, if they don't have that basketball in their hand, they lose on how to play the game. They're stuck. They stand around.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned transition, Smitty, because when I start to think about what it was that made Grant really, really extra special, along with all the things he did in the half court, was his ability at his size to rebound, take it out in the break, and put pressure on you defensively. So, Grant, if you would talk to us a little bit about your mindset with regards to transition and about what you and I talked about, 2 phases of your career in transition and how important that is in today's game.
What I would try to do, at least with the fast break and in my Detroit years, is I would go in and rebound. And defensive rebounding to me was how you started the break. And at the small forward position, once I would get it, I always felt those first 2 dribbles, those first bust out 2 dribbles. Now I'm beating all the 4s and the 5s on both sides of the ball. I'm beating them down the court. I'm coming full speed, and I'm making him make a decision. If he stops me, one of you are open. If he goes back, then, you know, if he goes a little further back, I may.
The young Grant here, the young Grant here, the young Grant here,
But it's all about attacking him and making him make a decision. And if I got 3D over there, I know he's going to knock it in.
Well, let's talk. Go ahead,
Let me ask a question. The part, you know, we play against each other so much in the playoffs. What was your mindset? We will always try to push you out, but when you caught it, all of us started to back up because even though we knew you were going to the cup, there was nothing we could do. And I thought your best thing for you is you never turned your back. I was always taught if a guy, if you can make him turn his back, you have him. You never turned your back. And just talk about me. What did you look for? What did you see? Maybe I can go back in that tape and look at it.
Well, a couple things. One, in college, I used to watch the big guys, Magic, and they would dribble like this.
Right.
And actually, the summer after my senior year in college, Quinn Snyder, who was head coach in the NBA, said, look, you don't have to, you can play like a guard. You can dance, you can go through your leg crossover, so do that. And so when I would get the ball, everyone would back off because I wasn't a great shooter. But as a slasher, that's what I wanted. Because now I'm going downhill. Now I'm coming to you. I'm coming at you now and making you make a decision. And that's what I wanted. Because I'm coming at you and
that was it.
There it is.
You see that, Z?
Well, what's fascinating is, to Smitty's point, you were a north-south guy. And the remarkable thing is that you could do those things at full speed, and I don't think a lot of guys really could pick up on doing that at the speeds that you were coming at, you know, being able to watch a guy's feet, pick an angle, and be at an advantage.
I must confess, I did carry a little bit every once in a while. And so what I would do, if I come at Smitty and I get to here, now I want to see what he's going to do. If Smitty's going to wait on that crossover, then I'm going to keep going with a little hesitation. But if Smitty, like, leans a little bit, then I'm going this way. And also, I used to do this a lot. I'd grab his arm, and that was big. Just a little touch. Grab his arm, throw him off balance.
Do you see how excited Steve Smith is that you just said you grabbed the guy's arm? This guy was the David Copperfield of all those moves.
That's true.
More magic
I
moves.
might have learned it from him.
You might have. Yeah. Well, phase 2 for you, Grant, was that not leading the break, but then your later years from playing in Phoenix was running the floor. Right. How much of an advantage can you gain by not having the ball and being a floor runner?
Well, I mean, I think you got to have a point guard who will make the right pass to you. And I played with Nash in Phoenix, and he was a guy that wasn't afraid to try things. And so, you know, when you got Amari Stoudemire and Steve Nash and Big Shaq, you know, the ball's not coming your way a whole lot. So if you want to get touches, you better get out and run. Yeah. So the same principle, though, when the ball would go up, just take off. Just take off running, run the court hard, and you have to run every time. It's not, well, I'm going to run this time, and I'll jog up the next 2 or 3 times. It's a habit where every time you're running, and you may not get it, you may open up an opportunity for a teammate, but the running teams are the teams that make it a habit every time they run, and eventually you wore a team out.
The one thing I would love for you to break down, Smitty, is the 1-2 pick and roll, the vaunted 1-2 pick and roll, you and Mookie, where you guys would just absolutely demolish guys who are not like size with you, put you down in the block, take advantage of that. If you can grab Zeke and Reggie.
I would grab Zeke and Reggie.
Some 1-2 pick and roll on the elbow.
So Reggie is being Mookie Blaylock with the basketball, and I got to give a lot of credit to Lenny Wilkins. My whole thing is if I'm setting a pick and roll on a 1-2 screen and roll, he comes off, and you're right, I like to grab, so we can force the switch. And then for me and I know a lot of guys, especially the big fella, I learned from this all bigs, I never just ran down and post. My first thing was to try to punish. So I'm trying to hit. So I'm trying to hit.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The whole thing was, come here, and most guys' first thing was, let me go fast because I got a small. But for me, what me and Mook always talked about, let me make Isaiah play. Let me take Isaiah's leg. Isaiah come. Now, Grant, you come down. And then we used to do this. Throw it back in, Mook. Make Isaiah play so I can wear him down. And then obviously, with Mookie being there, when you decide to commit, I throw it to Mook for a shot.
First down. Traveling.
Isaiah just went into Coach Van Gundy defense. Right there.
What are you doing,
But
Isaiah?
for me and Mook was to wear down this point guard. And also, we ran 2-1 pick and roll the same exact way. So we come off pick and roll. You were really never taught how to play pick and roll defensively as a point guard. Maybe you, but most point guards, Zeke, I come off, he never helped.
So, yeah.
Never helped.
Don't forget mine. Yeah.
They got his.
Yeah,
So
don't
that-
get mine.
I don't see a lot of 2-1 pick and rolls anymore because most of it, he doesn't know how to show. He doesn't know how to slide and get under. And then the last thing for me, like I was saying, chasing these guys was not my forte. So guarding Reggie Miller, the only way I could try to have an advantage with Reggie was try to post up. And I think and everybody, I post up a little bit different. They tell you go here, but if I'm here and Reg started to push me out, I'm gonna end here. So I was always taught from the late Johnny Golston, I'm gonna try to find his chin, and I'm gonna ride him here and grab my shorts and post here. Now when I catch
dirty
it,
coach, man.
come on now. Once I catch it here,
Right.
Reg's got to make a decision. If I go here, and if he jumps, I'm jumping into him. And he was the best. I think nowadays a lot of people don't understand is you don't have to shoot. If Reg plays great defense, you got to jump into him, but you got to like contact to post up as a two-guard.
Smitty, you used to get it like sometimes in the mid-post. So you didn't know, as a defender, it was like, don't leave Joe Dumars on an island against Smitty, the height differential.
Well,
and so I never knew
yes.
when to come. Because
And that's
you
where I
were-
go back to Isaiah because I think Eyes was, I'm always looking at you and understand. Reggie's different. He's 6'7", 6'8".
Right.
So there's no just shooting over Reg.
Sup?
But if it's 6'4", I'm looking at you, right? I can get Joe up. Well, maybe not Joe. He was pretty good. Most two guys. Sorry, Joe. Sorry, Joe. Smaller. You said Joe. That's not right.
Lindsey Hunter. That's Lindsey Hunter.
Yeah, Lindsey.
There you
Little
go.
Lindsey.
Lindsey's
Yeah,
pretty
little
good,
Lindsey
too.
too little. Because I'm here. If I can get him up, but I'm the same thing as Shaq. If
looking
you
at-
coming,
I'm coming.
I'm coming here because I had passing ability. That's all I really wanted was to bait.
Steve, I know a lot of people talk about you in the post, but I want you to explain the herky-jerky move. I mean, a lot of guys are going to remember you from playing in the post, but I remember that go-to herky-jerky move that people somehow went for, and you got open every time. Can you explain how and why that move?
Well, I think the first thing is obviously guarding Isaiah. Most two guards don't get this close. So give me a little space, Isaiah. So I was always taught, right? The one thing, if you're dribbling the basketball, none of us has seen a guy jump while you're guarding. So if I'm here and I jump, but when I land, that was your eyes have never seen anybody. You're playing basketball and he jumps and then you're gone. A little bit of a carry, Grant, like you.
Finally. Finally, Steve Smith admits the secret to the Smitty. It's illegal. It's illegal. All right, we're going to try to catch up with some of the game's best shooters and talk about working off screens and spotting up when we come back. Jack, Smitty. Yeah, you got it now. You better bring it out.
And you want to act like you're getting held when really you're doing the holding. So you're like, ref, ref. So I put my hands up, ref. So all what I'm really trying to do is set up Smitty to get him off balance.
Welcome back to Open Court and a very special one, Basketball 101, off the couches onto the hardwood. And we talked to two very special players in terms of what they did, Grant Hill and Steve Smith, being very diverse in their games. But now we're going to talk about specialized players. 3D, I see you sitting in the chair. We're going to talk some shooting. What are you doing?
Well, like I talked about earlier, being a kid, I wanted to be like Magic Johnson, did a whole lot of dribbling. I talked to my AAU coach saying, no, do what you do, which is shoot the basketball. So he brought me in the gym and said, I want you to start from the foundation. And I said, why is that, coach? He said, right now you can shoot the ball, but your shot's a little flat. So I needed you to get your shot up here. So the only way I can break that muscle memory is to break you all the way down to the foundation. So now when you start here, it makes you get your shot high. And then you hear Shaq likes to talk about it, Smitty talks about it. You got to leave it. Every shot you take, every great shooter leaves that follow through till the ball goes through the net, and you want to take that picture. See, that's all. Now, lastly, fingertips. Reggie talks about it. All great shooters, you know this, the ball should try to leave off your fingertips every time. And I think this is one drill that helps you get the ball up, leave it up there, and get it off your fingertips. And then once you stand up, you move to the side. And we always talk about, Reggie, you talked about it earlier today, when you come into the gym, all shots should start right here first.
It takes a lot of discipline.
All shots.
It takes a lot of discipline
All
to
shots
do this.
should do that.
Yes.
And then as you warm up, yes, then you start backing up. Then, but you can't back up until you make one. After I make one. There you go.
Now, you guys were two very different shooters, at least in the way you scored the basketball from the three-point line. So as 3D keeps backing up, and I don't think the studio's big enough, by the way, I want to talk to you guys about one, spotting up, and then two, working off of the screen. So, Reggie, for you, guys in the league right now who you see use their legs in order to create opportunities to get their shots off, good shooters who know how to use the screen, who do you think about?
I think number one that comes to mind would be J.J. Redick. And especially in that offense when you've got Chris Paul being the distributor and you've got Blake Griffin able to command a double team, you've got to have shooters surrounding them. And J.J. Redick is one of the, if not the best player in the league now, who really uses screen. Probably Klay Thompson.
So Klay in there?
Kyle Korver. I wouldn't say he runs off screens. I'd say he spots up fantastic.
Yes, great call. Great call.
In running the break. But it's something that really made my career was setting up my man down low, because I wasn't the biggest of guys, but I knew I could shoot and I knew I could read screens. So if I could run all day, then I had the advantage.
And you could run all
day.
The only guy that might have outrun you maybe was Mully, who never stopped, by the way, but he had to. You got a great screener in Shaq out here, but I want you to talk about some of the ways. Yes.
All right,
Zeke,
Shaq, come on over here, big fella.
Okay, Zeke,
and
you
I
play
need
the
my point guard because
I'm coming.
Because Isaiah taught me a little bit of this too when he was our coach in Indiana. Look, we know there's 3 ways that a defender is going to guard you in the motion. They're either going to force you one way, so either that side or that side. They're going to play behind you, or they're going to play on top of you. Most good defenders like Joe Dumars, Michael Cooper, Alvin Robertson, they don't play this way and they don't play behind, because you saw the pass by Isaiah. If you do that, boom. And if you play behind, boom. So most good defenders, like a Joe Dumars, is going to force you one way. And most of the time, they're going to force you away from your strengths, which at the time was Rick Smits, which Rick would be right here.
Is John Starks a good defender?
He was. Okay. He was.
He's trying to start a little.
I know he is. He was good. What, was he Joe Dumars? No.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Reggie, what is your relationship with the point guard as to when it is that you started your action?
We've got to be on the same page. And he knows I want to come off Shaq, Rick Smits. So I've got to be able to set him up. Smitty wants to force me away from Shaq, right? So it's my job to set him up. And this is when the games all start. So he's going to force me this way, and the referee is standing there, okay? So first you want to kind of grab a little bit.
Now, there's a lot of grabbing going on in
You do.
this.
And you want to act like you're getting held when really you're doing the holding. So you're like, ref. So I put my hands up, ref. So all what I'm really trying to do is set up Smitty to get him off balance. So I know he wants to send me off this way, but I want to come off number 34 because that's my bread and butter. And it's all about reading screens. So now.
And while he's doing that, every time he takes an inch, I'm looking at the defense also, so I'm baiting him with the ball.
So here, and this is when the game starts. So he's going to force me off one way, so now I'm going to turn to him, and I kind of want to get into him a little bit. I want to move him. So now I'm moving him up.
Now he's got me.
Now I'm moving him up,
Now
right?
wait.
So this is when I'm going to fake one way, and he thinks I'm going off the way he wants.
and I start my sprinting now.
You're having to read the defender here as well.
Correct.
It's on the big guy on the screen, so thank you for that.
So here's my picture. Boom. I got him. Oh, so I'm assuming he's going to trail me because he's right on my heels. So now my next picture is looking at Grant. How is Grant going to do? Is he going to show out, or is he going to stay on big Shaq because Shaq's the bread and butter? It's a soft show by Grant. Well, now I got him because I only need a half a second to get off because he's trailing. Most shooters, and you guys know this in 3D, you want the trail because either I'm going to come here and get the 45-degree 15-footer, or I can curl up to the elbow here, and I've got plenty of options. I can keep going in for a layup. If this guy helps, Isaiah gets the shot, or I stop and throw it down to the soon-to-be Hall of Famer. These are all the options. Well, let's just say I take the picture and I see Smitty going over the top. Well, this is where I got to read and use Shaq. Now, back when we played, we could kind of manipulate the bigs by kind of pushing them a little bit.
Yeah.
And now he takes out two guys, and I fade to the corner. This is the easiest three on the court. If a player is going to go over top, most players will fade to the three-point line. If he trails me, normally, unless he falls down and Shaq gets him good, which he got me a lot of times when I was trying to guard Kobe coming off this play, illegal screens, then I'm going to come off right here to about a 45-degree angle.
So the footwork for you, though, Reggie, at the three-point line, how does that differ? Because at this, Mark Jackson's coming over. He knows you're on the fade. He's also seeing Smitty cheat.
Sure.
You're going out there. How is it that your footwork's setting up your balance there?
Most shooters, they never look down at the three-point line because they know where they're at on the whole court, right?
Yep.
And it's all about footwork. And that's one thing I prided myself in from UCLA, because they taught fundamentals every single day, all about the wooden rules, to the NBA. Was floating to the three-point line, the soft corner three, using your fundamentals and your footwork to shoot the corner three.
What I thought Reggie was so good at, whenever you came off and I was late and you caught the basketball, Reggie wasn't scared to pump fake and jump into you, because that was always 2 points.
Oh, you don't say, Smitty.
I'm just saying. I thought him not being afraid of contact.
You've got to want the contact.
Him understanding, well, if you foul me, that's 2, because he shot 97%. So I thought that. So it always had me, Reg, whenever you made a little hesitation, I didn't know whether to.
Well, I kind of want him to catch up.
You always wanted me to catch up.
I wanted him to catch. If I don't have a shot,
he always wanted me to catch up.
Catch up then. So I can play a 2-on-1. Because if you're not there, I can kick to a 3. He can drive, kick to the 3 in the corner right there. It's a chain reaction.
I couldn't run like Reggie. So when Penny Hardaway got the rebound, or back in college when Kenny Anderson got the rebound, I'm running the floor. We talk about spacing. Now you have to make a decision. Are you going to stop the point guard, or are you going to stop me from flaring out on the wing? Because you can't stop both. And then finally when I got him, so I had him and Penny Hardaway. Penny's pushing it. Shaq's running what we call the rim runs. You can't stop all three of those. You got to pick your poison. So they would shrink in, and then I would space out, and I'm ready to shoot the ball. Footwork. I'm ready to shoot the ball. How many times we've been sitting at the desk, he's not ready to shoot. The guy's on the weak side of the floor standing like this. Ball comes, give it to me, Zeke. Ball comes. Now you got to get into your shot.
Oh.
The defense is rotated by then. So I'm on the weak side. I'm like, yeah, Shaq's going to get this to me. Ball's gone. I don't care how fast y'all are rotating. The ball's up and it's gone.
There's a difference between a good shooter and a great shooter, repetition in the gym or just form. Because, you know, there's a lot of guys that don't have the perfect form, but they're great shooters. And the reason why I asked that question, because D, Grant, you know, I was in the gym for many, many hours shooting free throws, but I could never get it. So what's the definition between a good shooter and a great shooter?
Confidence.
Oh, you know I got the confidence.
No, you don't.
What?
No, I don't. Hold, let me finish why.
No, I don't.
You didn't have the confidence until they pissed you off. And then in the playoffs, you would go 10 for 10 on certain nights, 11 for 12 certain nights. But during the regular season, you go up there, oh, man, I should shoot these free throws. It was in your head. Because I know you. Then the playoffs come, then you would hit that switch. Then the confidence.
You know, right.
A lot of times we talk to the youth today, and your shot may be a little unorthodox here, but as long as it's here, and he's the best at that. It may not be pretty all the way up, but when it gets here, it's pretty.
I always tell kids, don't worry about your shooting form. Everyone shoots, it's like fingerprints. Everyone shoots the ball differently. Follow through.
Every time.
Have space, have air, see daylight.
See that?
and
What a
have
camera.
confidence. And a lot
What
of
a
people, I tell
camera.
people, you don't shoot with your arms, and we shoot with our legs.
Right.
We're all skinny guys, us wing guys, but we shoot from our legs.
Can I ask you a
How
question?
many times did people try to change your shot growing up and you resisted?
They didn't at UCLA. My high school coach kind of tweaked with it a little bit because, I have that clapping sound every time I shoot. And I was like, Coach, people think I'm getting fouled. He's like, you know what? You're right. Keep it.
Right.
Keep it. Because every time I would go up and there was close to contact, you would hear,
Yep.
Yeah.
and people thought I got a whistle and got fouled.
Reggie, in 3D, so many of these young guys, and you tell me, should they start off at the age 7 through 12 shooting NBA?
No,
threes? I really want you guys,
Smitty.
because
Here was a drill. He showed you this.
because
sitting
so
drill.
many kids now.
People ask me, how did you shoot threes so great? It has nothing to do with
Thank you.
threes. It's all about setting up a base. A great drill. I call it 15, 17, 19.
Yep.
15, 17, 19. 19, 17, 50. 7 spots. Over and over and over. And once you get stronger, well, now you go 16, 18, 20, 20, 18, 16. Then you go 18, 20, 22. The stronger you get. But start has nothing to do with threes.
Right there.
Start in
Start
here
there first.
Man, all those numbers sounds like Shaq's average, 18 and 20, 20 and 18. So when we get back, we're going to get to that. Time to get down in the post. And I was low. We'll get in the post with Shaq when we get back.
18.
Welcome back to Open Court Basketball 101. And if you're going to talk with big guys, why not have the... Can you move over, dude?
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. If you're going to talk to big guys, why not talk to the biggest big man? Shaq, obviously, you changed the game. You changed the way that the game was played in the post, your athleticism and dominance. What does the post game today mean? Is it upsetting to you where the post game has gone?
It's weak right now. It's very upsetting. First of all, I'd like to thank the guards because when I came in, I didn't want to be just an average big man. I wanted to be a big man with style. So I used to study everything that they did, minus the shooters because I wasn't a great shooter. When I was coming up, my father preached Kareem, Wilt, and Bill Russell. And the first move I learned from age 9 to like 12, 13 was a sky hook. So I'm a kid out there playing with little kids and I'm doing a sky hook. It wasn't cool to me. Then I seen this cat, J.R. Reed from North Carolina. He was doing the jump hook. I was like, I like that move. And then after J.R. Reed, I started watching Patrick Ewing. I said, you know what? Patrick Ewing, he got the jump hook. I like that. Let me study that. Let me master that. Then in high school in San Antonio, David Robinson comes up. He was a guy that liked to run the floor. I was like, you know what? I like to run. I got my guard skills. Let me do that. So the Shaq character was David Robinson running, Patrick Ewing's ferocity, and Ronnie Cycli, when he dunked, he got his legs up. He got his legs up. So I said, you know what, I'm going to put these three guys together, and there you got Shaq.
So can you walk us through some of the things that you ended up learning from this center position once you established as to how teams were going to try to slow down the diesel?
The first year in the league was the hardest for me because high school, I didn't study tape. College, I didn't study tape. So I thought that would transition over.
Once he started watching film and we say, no, big fella, get deeper, get deeper, get deep. Now I give it to him. Now he goes to work.
Because I used to get it and I was like, you know what, it's a lot of big guys here, but I got to establish myself. I used to just get it and go, not knowing where the double was going to have a lot of turnover. But once I start studying tape, I realized they're not coming off shooters. They're either going to come from the 4 or they're going to come from the guy right here. So what I would do early, if I'm not deep,
you're not deep.
Get it.
You're not deep.
Okay,
oh, there you go.
So now I'm deep. So if it's coming from the 4 right there, a lot of times I had Jeff Turner, Horace Grant who could make the shot. I would go like I'm doing something, give them the bow, get them off balance, and throw it back to the guy right
Did
there.
you say give him the bow?
Show him the bow. Strike that from the tape. Show him the bow.
But how dynamically different was it for you to go from Orlando learning to slow down a little bit to then all of a sudden being in a system with the triangle offense that puts you in the post with opportunities with cutters? Can you kind of, how was that process to learn where you're going to be effective in that?
I realized in the triangle, we always send a cutter this way, and you send a cutter this way. So now I got a side by myself. That's barbecue chicken. So I'm taking my time. I would take my time, and the double would probably come off Grant. D. Scott would spot up. I'll throw it to the shooter there, or just go make my move, or just throw it to the shooter over there, or just do the dumbass running jump hook that I always used to do. But I had to get mine first. I used my teammates, and it was a good system because people were always moving. People were always moving, and we had certain options.
We come set the screen right here sometimes.
Set the screen right here, and then I always play with great shooters. I've always had the luxury to play with great shooters. So if we put a shooter right here and you set a screen for me, Smitty, I would get it. I would bait, but I would always see what the defense is doing. And D. Scott, Glenn Rice, Mitch Richmond, Kobe Bryant, guys would always be right there.
Shaq, can I ask the question in the triangle? I thought was the hardest part. Me and Brent talked about that. When basketball came to the corner, and
High
you would
side,
feel,
Reggie.
but you,
High side, yeah, like that.
I learned that from Karl Malone because he was the only little guy that used to get me in trouble. So see, like Karl used to run, try to bump me up. So Karl used to use my strength against me,
Right.
and always post up.
Boom.
So, when I was in get mine mode, B. Shaw right there, and then we also had something called the Shawshank Redemption. So you get it right there because the guy leaning on me, right? You guys
Spin for the lob. Spin for the lob. Yeah. Spin for the lob.
Let me ask you a question, because we see, and the numbers speak for themselves, you being able to score. Some of the guys of your generation that you played with, who was the toughest to try to stop Shaq? When you mentioned David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, Yao Ming, who are some of these guys that maybe?
Ironically, none of those guys that you named. I've always had a problem with guys that were smaller than me. Malone, Oakley, Barkley, and the guy who I hated was Rick Mahorn, because Rick Mahorn was bigger than me. He'd do this, and as soon as I make the move, I let go.
Pull the chair on you.
And pull the chair on me. So I never had a problem with the big guys because, they were the same size, so I would try to get those guys.
Big Country Reed.
Oh, yeah, Big Country Easy.
Good call, yeah.
Big guys, though, especially shot blockers like Zelvin Dikembe, no jump hooks, no layups, it's all dunks. Because a shot block, you got to take to the face. So those guys are, I'm the defensive player here, I'm not going to double. So I would give them that, I'd give them the booty bump.
Yeah.
A little bit of carrying also, I'd give them the booty bump right there. And then I show them the bow. And I had this thing where I would always come back like that. And they can never get to
And you're not worried about Dikembe?
No, never. That's Zimbabwe chicken right there.
How was it to try to guard Big Rich Smith 7'2" with that soft touch?
Guys that could step out and shoot always get me problems. Because one, I'm not playing defense, and two, I just could never. And then, you got guys like Reggie coming off the screen. So when he get bumped, these guys complaining, running 15 feet. So I don't just show. So I would show, and then they throw it back to Rick, and nobody rotates to him. Yeah, so I'm looking at the stat: Rick Smith's 20, Shaq 8. Rick Smith's killed Shaq again. So it got to the point where y'all don't help me, I'm not helping y'all.
When Shaq first came into the league, right? So I'm guarding Penny Hardaway out here, and Shaq is posted, and I'm supposed to come back and double, okay? And I forget who was guarding him. I think it was
Buddha?
No.
Rambeer?
No, one of the, I think maybe Sally or somebody. It was somebody small, right? But stand behind Shaq, Reggie. I swear to God, now I'm supposed to go back, don't throw it in.
Okay.
I look back and I'm like, ain't nobody guarding Shaq. I couldn't see the defenders. That's the first time I ever looked on the basketball court and somebody was standing behind somebody and you couldn't see him. I was like, oh, who got Shaq?
I scored 28,000 points on 2 moves: the jump hook, the drop step, and the elbow juice. I know I said 2 moves, but the elbow juice, that move don't count. It's 2 moves. So.
Shaq, I played with you for a year and a half in Phoenix, and the thing that surprised me is, as big as you are and as dominant and as much abuse as you dish out, you took a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people would come and be physical, and I thought sometimes would get away with things with you because you were so big. Did that ever bother you throughout the course of your career?
Like most of us are friends here, so like when I get a hard foul, for example, like if Isaiah hard foul me, I know it's out of respect. There's a few guys that when they fouled you hard, you had to watch out.
Like?
Lambeer was one of them.
Okay.
Like one time, I think it was my rookie sophomore year, Lambeer fouled me pretty hard, and I told him, next time you do that, we're gonna be on ESPN.
But Isaiah told him to do it.
You know,
I'm just messing with you.
my philosophy was bring the pain first.
Right.
Bring the pain first. And like if you knew it was coming, you could like, really prepare for it. So like if it's a guy like, one of you guys found me, I knew it was out of respect, I turned the mad button off. But if it was a guy that was trying to hurt me, I might have to get 4 or 5 games.
All right, well, speaking of bringing the pain as we wrap up Basketball 101, Shaq, one free throw, we're on the line for suicides. You miss, we run. We all know this drill. Thank you guys for joining us here, Open Court.
Shaq, come on, Shaq.
Basketball 101, please.
Don't make me run.
That's going to do it for Basketball 101. Thanks for joining us here, Open Court. The Diesel with the free throw.
Open court on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Open court.
Yeah.